Hi guys! So today I wanted to talk to you about why I love paper planning. This was inspired by a video that Carrie Harling did on this subject a few months ago, which I'll link down below. When I saw that I thought, yes, I would really like to be part of this conversation because there are so many reasons that I love paper planning, and I thought that it would be fun to talk about them in a single video. So a little bit of history, for those of you that don't know, I've had a paper planner since I was about 20, so that's about 20 years now, and I've never done any kind of digital planning. I'm not really sure why this is. I think it just never occurred to me for some reason that planning was something that could be done digitally. I really like the internet, I like computers. It's not that I have anything against any kind of digital formats, but for some reason I didn't know. I just didn't know that it was a thing. And then I remember at some point my ex showing me the calendar on his phone. This was a long time ago, probably about 15 years ago, when phones were much less developed than they are now. And I just remember thinking, like, how could you possibly use that to keep track of your schedule? I just didn't get it. And I never looked into it any further, and it was just something that never spoke to me for whatever reason. And so here I am today with all of my paper planners, having never tried an Outlook calendar or anything like that, and I think I've been lucky that I've never had to use it for work, even though I use Outlook for email. So I've just always been a paper planner person, and I really like that. So this is totally just my perspective coming from somebody who's never tried digital planning, so I don't mean to say anything against digital planning. I don't have anything against it, but it's just something that has never appealed to me, and I've always really liked paper planning, and obviously since getting into the planner community I have grown to like it more and more, so that it's become my hobby as well as something that I have done for basic practical reasons. So I think being a planner addict has made me think about it a little bit more and try to analyze the reasons why I love it so much. So the first reason is the aesthetics of books themselves. I've always loved books, and I've always loved stationery. I've always really been into paper. I've always, since I was a kid, I used to collect blank books, so blank hardbound notebooks, and I always wanted to be a writer, so I loved the idea of getting a book which looked just like a published book, except that it was blank and you could fill it with whatever you wanted and it would contain your story in it. So I think that idea has always been really appealing to me, and I just love the shape of books, and I love different kinds of paper quality, and I love printing and different kinds of font, and those are things that have always appealed to me. So having a paper planner is just a natural extension of that. I didn't ever have a planner when I was a kid, but I did have a diary, and that was a bound book, and I think in combination with like spiral notebooks that I used to use for writing stories, and like I said, the hardbound blank books that I always loved, lined, blank. I never remember seeing any dot grids or grids when I was a kid, but if I had, I would have loved them too. And I think all of that is just very naturally a channel for paper planning. I just love the look of books. And I feel like they're objects of beauty, and I've been kind of remotely interested in bookbinding. I've never done a bookbinding course, but I sort of like the idea of making books, and so everything about books just really appeals to me, and I think that's what it's really rooted in fundamentally. That's the first reason that I love paper planning, because their books are just such objects of beauty, and whether it's a book that's printed or whether it's a book that you fill yourself, I think the idea of having a book that tells your life story is very appealing. So that's my number one reason. I feel like digital platforms like your phone or your computer, for me, they just don't have that same aesthetic appeal. They're very functional, as in I use them. I like my phone because it can go on the internet and I can watch YouTube videos on it, but I don't cherish them as physical objects of beauty in the same way that I do books. So that's one reason. That's a big reason. Another one is I love the fact that paper planners are low tech. They're always accessible. They never crash. They don't run out of batteries. I never have problems opening them. This is all I have to do. And the same goes for books as well. So I have a Kindle and I love my Kindle, but there's just something very refreshing about being able to open a book. It never tells you that it can't load. You never open it to find that everything that you've written has disappeared, unless in very rare occasions, if you're using a friction pen and you put it on something hot, I know that can happen. But generally, you don't have the problem of your data disappearing. You don't have bugs. You don't have it freeze. These are things that have never happened to me with any of my paper planners, and I just really like the fact that they are so reliable and you never have to worry about anything happening to them unless you like drop them in water or something. But usually in those cases, your phone or your laptop would also not survive. So I just really like the fact that they are so simple and straightforward. Another reason that I like paper planners is that I have always loved to write things down. I love typing too. I've always really liked typing, but it's very different. And I think somehow physically writing something is just very satisfying, and in a way, I know people say that when you write something down you remember it better. I don't know if I've ever found that to be true, but I do really like writing things down. I just find it extremely satisfying. I like making lists and crossing them off, and somehow I feel like making lists physically and then crossing them off is more satisfying than making a digital list and ticking it off or deleting things, which is something that I've never done. Just like I've never done paper planning, I've never done digital planning, I've never done digital to-do lists. I've always written them down on paper, and I like being able to use different sizes, being able to put things exactly where I want them, not having to worry about getting the columns in the right place. I can just write wherever I want to write, and again, it's very low tech, so I really like that. I like just the kind of physical sensation of writing things down as opposed to typing, which somehow seems very different to me. You can be really spontaneous. You can, like write something. If I wanted to, I could write something on the back of here, or I could put a little picture on, or whatever. I really like physically writing things down in that way. And then leading on from that, I love the accessories that go with paper planners. So that starts with the writing implements. So I'm really into the idea of having objects that will last forever, that you love and cherish, that are durable and good quality. So that's why I got into fountain pens. I got into fountain pens very late, but I just love the idea that this pen will be with me for years and years and years, and that I can look back and think of all of the things that I've written with it and all of the times that it's seen me through. And I like the idea that this is working together with the planner to effectively create my life and tell my life story. I don't journal, so I just mean this in a very basic plannery kind of way, but I just still love being able to look back on all the filled pages and see how the year has evolved, even if it's through menial tasks. And I think that the accessories, like the writing implements, are something that go hand in hand with that. So along with the writing implements, fountain pens and mechanical pencils, which I also really love. I like the covers, and I like being able to switch out the covers, and the covers, like the books themselves, I feel like are objects of beauty, and they're things that I can really love and cherish and look back and remember when I bought them and how long they've been with me. And again, that's something that I don't feel for my electronics. So I have a phone, I've had it for a couple of years, and I hope that it lasts as long as possible so that I don't have to buy a new one so quickly, but I don't cherish it in the same way. It's purely instrumental. So I love the covers, I love the writing implements, and then I also obviously love the decorative accessories like stickers and washi tape, particularly stickers. So something that I really, really like that, I got into since I found out about the planner community online is planner stickers. And when I was a kid, I liked stickers, like I think most of us did. And so the idea that there's a way that you can use stickers and combine it with productivity was just so exciting. So I love being able to create a spread and have it follow me through the week, and then I can look back and think, oh yeah, that was the green week. And I love being able to use different color combinations to create a mood, and then to look forward to being able to use that spread and record things in it, and again then being able to look back on it. I think that's something that I really like about it, which combines with this whole tactile visual element of really like enjoying every aspect of it with all of the senses. So that's something else that I love, is all of the accessories that go with paper planning. And I also love, like I was saying, I love the fact that they'll last forever and they'll become documents that record my life. So I don't do memory keeping and I don't do scrapbooking or journaling, like I said, but I feel like this will become like a record, because when I look back, it's colorful and it also records everything that I was doing. So, you know, right now, this might seem a bit obvious that I was packing for my trip to go visit my mum or something, but in 10 years' time or 20 years' time, I think looking back on all of these moments that at the time just seemed very mundane become special. So for example, in what my first planner that I kept since I started keeping my planners, which was from 2014, it has a record of the day when we picked up our dog Panda from the foster carer who was looking after him after he left the rescue shelter. And now to me, that's just extremely meaningful, and you know, looking at it brings back all of those memories. And at the time I wasn't thinking that I was going to want to look back on it, but now I have that there and I'll be able to look at it for the rest of my life. And with things like emails, sometimes I do go back and check emails, but somehow it doesn't feel the same. Being able to look back on this physical object feels much more powerful and meaningful to me for some reason. So I really like the fact that they'll never become obsolete, they won't break. I feel like, you know, how many times have you had it where you had either photos on your phone and then you accidentally deleted them? I have certainly done that. Or your phone breaks and you lose the photos, etc., etc. Again, I don't mean to bash electronics, because obviously I wouldn't have any photos of Panda, for example, if I didn't, you know, you need electronics for a lot of memories, but I think that somehow having a paper planner can be a different way of recording memories that you can then look back on forever and don't have to worry about something happening to it in the same way. So another thing that I really love about paper planners is being able to have different ones. And so, as you know, I am totally a multiple planner person, and I love having my different planners, and I love the fact that because I'm really into books and paper and stationery, that I get to try all kinds of different planners and have different looks. So I love this cover, I love this cover, I love this cover. They're all very different to each other, and I like the fact that I can use them all together, and that because I love books, that I can have all of these different books that encapsulate different parts of my lives, and I love picking them up and touching them, and I think a lot of us are the same. And I like the fact that I can try out different layouts, and I know digitally you would be able to try out different layouts as well in some ways, but I like being able to see it and touch it and have it actually be something that exists in the non-virtual world. So I like the feel of the paper, and you know, the different types of paper. So I like the fact that like this paper is thicker and I can put stickers on it, whereas this paper is thin and I think it works best without stickers or only with minimal stickers. And I like the fact that I can have this whole variety of different types of experiences, but all within the realm of something that feels and looks like a book. So approaching that digitally, I feel like, so for example, using different apps or using like different virtual layouts within a calendar app or something, it doesn't feel the same to me. And again, I'm not at all saying that I think that it's a bad thing, because I know that there are people who really like digital planning and prefer it to paper planning, and also people who use both of them together. So I don't mean to say that I think that there's anything wrong with that, but I somehow, for me, it's just like having the actual physical objects is a really important part of it, and being able to have different ones is also really valuable. Another thing that I really like is I like being able to open the books to the place that I want and being able to flip back and forth and see the whole picture. So this is something that when I've looked at things like Outlook, because I have a colleague who uses Outlook, and it always just really baffles me, and I know this is just me, but I feel like I want to be able to see everything. And I know you can zoom out, but I just want to have it on paper and be able to see the whole week, and then physically flip forward to the next week and flip back to the week before, and you know, like maybe be able to do this and compare them. And this is something that I have experienced with books as well. So I have a Kindle and I love it, but I feel like the Kindle is much more useful for novels and things that I just want to read straight through and not consult than reference books. So For example, for language books, because I work a lot with language, I just can't do it on Kindle. I have to have the physical book, and I have to be able to flip back and forth and look things up in the glossary and, you know, check footnotes, and I just can't do it on Kindle. I know that there are people who can, so it might just be me, but for that reason I really like being able to have an actual solid physical book that you can just flip back and forth and move around. And somehow for me that it just doesn't work in the same way if it's digital. And so being able to like flip through as well, not only for practical reasons, but also just to be able to see how the year has evolved, I think is something that's really cool. And I like looking back on the year and being able to flip through the whole thing like this. I find that very satisfying. And, you know, I like the fact that these are like, they're kind of, like I said, an evolving record of my life, which is actually something that I can take and put on the shelf. So I think those are the main reasons why I really like paper planning. They're a combination of practical reasons and aesthetic or emotional reasons, but I just absolutely love paper planning, and I think it's a really important part of my life and something that I would never want to give up. So I hope that you enjoyed this. I'll be interested to hear what your reasons are, if you have different reasons why you love paper planning, or if you like a combination of paper and digital planning. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!